Could a New York Yankees trade just across town in Queens with the New York Mets for Jeff McNeil be coming very shortly? Well, according to this report, it's very, very possible. We're going to cover all of this report and more on this episode of Yankees Digest. But first, welcome to Yankees Digest. I'm your host, Gabby Gordon, and I just want to remind you that if you're among the 58.8% not currently subscribed to the channel, smash that subscribe button right now so that you never miss a beat, because let's be real here, folks. There is so much to break down. But first, where am I getting this information from, and are these reports even real? Well, this is a pretty credible guy in Mike Francesa, and it's not necessarily a report of this is happening, more so that this could be a perfect fit. If you don't know who Mike Francesa is, for all my New Yorkers out there, you better know who he is. He was a longtime WFAN New York sports radio talk show host. He is since retired, and now he does his own podcast. And in his latest podcast, he said, quote, "To me, a perfect addition for the Yankees is McNeil. Number one, he's miserable with the Mets. The Mets can't stand the look of him anymore, and he can't stand the Mets anymore. He hasn't been there in a long time." Now, how miserable has Jeff McNeil been? Well, he's been pretty miserable. He's played right and left field for the Mets over this past weekend. The time I'm filming this is Tuesday, July 9th. And he went 1 for 7 in the 4-game split against the Pirates. Now he's slashing a .214, .271, .307 with a career worst .578 OPS. And Francesa added in his podcast that while McNeil is enduring a career worst season, he might just need a change of scenery to reclaim this former glory that he has. And there's no question about the fact that Jeff McNeil is a good player, and when he can play, he's on, and he is a huge asset to whatever team he is playing for. He's been great in baseball, just not recently, and look, the Mets haven't been great recently either, so, you know, it's not really a good mix when you're miserable on a team, and the team that you're playing on is also miserable, and it's like, it's not just you that's the problem, it's everybody, and it just kind of brings the team and stats down dramatically, and I think that's what we're seeing with McNeil. Now, if we just take a look at his stats to date, obviously striking numbers that are low here, right? Only 5 homers, right? 40 strikeouts, 19 walks, 20 RBIs. He's only on base 271%, right? And 280 at-bats, and he's just not working the count and not really having a productive year at all. But again, like I just mentioned, the Mets aren't having a productive year either, by any means necessary. So, I mean, it's tough to look at stats like this and count a guy out, but, you know, you have to know what a guy like Jeff McNeil is capable of and what he has shown before. And being 32 years old, there is still some career left in him. And when he's on, he's on. And that's really the whole point. And this is not the first report of speculations that Jeff McNeil could work in Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. In fact, on WFAN, very recently, like just a couple weeks ago, Evan and Tiki is a show on WFAN, and Evan Roberts was talking with Tiki Barber and said this exact same thing, and he brought up a great comparison and a great scenario. He said that Luis Severino is currently thriving in Queens, currently thriving in a Mets uniform, and was once thriving in a Yankees uniform, but really started to fall off at the end of his Yankees career. And because of that, the thought came to Evan and Tiki's mind, mostly Evan. I don't even think Tiki really agreed with it, but that's besides the point. Evan really stated that the thought of bringing in another Yankee who's really struggling right now, in exchange for a Met who's really struggling right now, could benefit both sides. And the Mets' future payroll, and then, of course, the Yankees' outfield situation. So it could really work for both teams in favor in different ways. So he proposed a beautiful trade of Gleyber Torres for Jeff McNeil. Now pause. No reports. I'm not reporting that this trade's happening, but I am saying there's been a ton of buzz about it, and it's very, very interesting because, let's face the facts here. Gleyber's been awful, and he's facing an injury. So it's double awful now. And even when he's been healthy, he's been awful. So it's really triple awful in the Gleyber Torres department. And you have a ton of questions regarding his fielding. Jeff McNeil is a player. He is a baller. And when he is at his very best, you could probably see him hit 15 home runs, extra base hits here and there, doubles. But he's a singles doubles type of guy. Like, that's exactly the production that New York needs. And not to mention, the guy's a lefty. And you know how much I love my lefties in New York. And you know we talk about it time and time again. We've spoken about Soto and his success. We've spoken about Rizzo when Rizzo's hot and the success that he has had. Obviously not as of late, but take what you can get. We've talked about Cody Bellinger, that the Yankees eyeing left-handed hitters with that right field short porch action, it's always going to be a little bit more attractive than the particular righty batter that you're just hoping is going to heat up again. And Jeff McNeil, he has shown some positives, right? And he has shown some positive momentum heading into this All-Star break that we're quickly approaching. And look, at this point, if you're the Mets, you got to make a change. And the Yankees, kind of in the same position. I think the Yankees are a little bit better off than the New York Mets for sure, based on the season and what it's been. But the Mets have certainly had a better go of things within the last month or so than the Yankees have. And, you know, that whole Grimace story when Grimace decided to grace the Mets and then they didn't lose a game for a couple of them. You know, Jeff McNeil could be the Yankees' Grimace. Like, let's just say maybe he brings in some of that power. But all in all, it's really interesting to see multiple reports agreeing that this guy could really be beneficial within a New York Yankees uniform. And sometimes all it takes is a change of scenery. Sometimes all it takes to revamp an entire career, turn a guy from a nobody into a Hall of Famer, could just be a change of scenery. And that's an incredible thing. So this is also something more affordable as well than in previous reports regarding Bellinger and re-signing Soto and everything. This could be a more affordable option for the Yankees to kind of revamp their offense and their defense, because McNeil is a great fielder as well. So obviously all speculations, obviously no official reports, but here at Yankees Digest, what do? We cover everything. We get into the nitty-gritty, and we look deep into stories because there could be something potentially really positive here in the Bronx under Brian Cashman and his management and his entire organizational team if something like this could come through. And again, Jeff McNeil could turn his career around in the Bronx. It's very possible to move to Queens, into the Bronx, into Yankee Stadium, playing with guys like Judge and Soto and Stanton and Verdugo and that whole crowd of players that really just changes the vibe. It could really prove to turn around a career. So very interesting news report from Mike Francesa, very interesting opinion and take. And then when I was even looking deeper into the research, finding another take very similar to that of Mike Francesa really lit up my mind. Like, we got to talk about this. So that's going to do it for this episode of Yankees Digest. If you want to see Jeff McNeil in pinstripes, comment down below. I'd absolutely love to hear your opinion. If you don't want him at all, let me know. Hey, it could go either way. Both sides completely valid. Ultimately, it's up to Mr. Brian Cashman in the manager seat, general manager seat that is, to make the final decisions. And he doesn't have a lot of time left. Only a few weeks away from the trade deadline, July 30th. So with all that being said, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you smash that subscribe button so that you never miss a single one. We're going to be covering it all and more, baby, on Yankees Digest. I'm your host, Gabby Gordon. I'll catch you in the next one.